Good afternoon and good evening. My name is Sir Meerkat and welcome back to the Moto Meerkat channel. We've been waiting so long and today is finally the day Drive to Survive Season 3 has been released. I'm sure you've all been binge watching it and if you haven't, then are you really an F1 fan? No, I'm just joking. Some people actually have jobs, unlike me. I'm just a silly little YouTuber. And because I am a YouTuber and I don't really have a schedule, I'm definitely going to be binge watching it. I just hope it's as good as we think it's going to be, but I know that Netflix and Box to Box Films would have smashed it out of the park, as they usually do. So as I say, you've probably all been watching Drive to Survive, but what you might not know is that Amazon Prime actually released their own little documentary-style series all about Formula 1 back in 2018, called Grand Prix Driver. Now, Amazon lists it on their thing as Season 1, but joke's on you, Amazon, there aren't any more series. And I guess we'll kind of find out why that is in today's video. The series is split up into 4 30-minute episodes following the McLaren Formula 1 team during their pre-season of 2017. Now, as we all know, 2017 wasn't exactly a fantastic year for McLaren, with them finishing in 9th with 30 points, compared to the winning team of Mercedes, who had 668 points. A little bit off there, a little bit off. The documentary obviously follows that pre-season, how it didn't exactly go to plan for McLaren, and kind of turns into a little bit of a hit piece on the Honda engine department, as McLaren felt that their car was pretty solid and that it was the power unit that was letting them down across kind of the whole board, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And so today we're just gonna have a little look through each of the 4 episodes, kind of giving you a general gist of the story, some funny, interesting moments, and then rating whether I think it can challenge Drive to Survive in viewing quality, or whether the series should kind of get in the metaphorical online bin. So let's get into it with the first episode. We start off the episode with some incredible grounding shots of the McLaren Technology Centre, absolutely beautiful, sweeping camera angles of the site and the cars inside, but with Michael Douglas as the narrator. A little bit weird. Yeah, that old guy from like Las Vegas and some other interesting movies. Thought that was just an odd inclusion, but there we are. Let's move on. We're introduced to the main characters of the McLaren kind of higher ups. We've got Jonathan Neal, Zach Brown, and Eric Boulier, and we kind of see them talking through the upcoming struggles for the McLaren in 2017. We see a kind of boardroom meeting going on, and they even space out the chairs for the people in the meeting. Oh my god, that is so up your own arse. Who cares about the spacing between the chairs? What? And then the man himself, Fernando Alonso, he makes an appearance. And he is soon followed by Stoffel Van Dorn, who says,
First day at McLaren as official race driver. I know it's one of the nicest buildings in Formula 1, and you know, when you walk along the boulevard with all the historic cars here, it's a very special feeling. So hopefully one day my car will be here as well.
Sorry to break it to you, mate, but it won't. It's now going to be damned to the dark depths of McLaren hell, I can promise you that. I actually feel so bad for Stoffel just in general. He was such a talent, such a good racing driver, and he was brought up to the team at exactly the wrong time. He was like a perishable building block of this McLaren rebuild that has undertaken over the past like 5 years, and he certainly did perish during that, obviously just being there while the team was awful, and then as it started to get good, he was completely chucked out. So feel very, very bad for Mr. Van Dorn, but I'm glad to see he's doing a little bit better in Formula E. And then we see Stoffel having his seat fitted, making sure he fits perfectly into the car, and the McLaren Technology Centre guys certainly have some history. Listen to this.
Scott,
Yeah.
how many years have you been doing seat fits?
20 plus.
So your first driver?
Senna.
The documentary then moves on to the livery reveal and the stresses that the drivers had to go through in building up to this reveal, with so many media commitments, repeating yourself over and over and over again, saying all the same things to all different outlets, and it seems like Stoffel is taking a while to take it all in, but he's doing it in his stride, and he's keeping it very professional, and he's doing a good job. Stoffel then also goes on to say,
I have a very good relationship with Fernando. Yeah, I mean, I get on very well with Fernando.
Ah, yes, mate. It really seems you guys best of friends. We're 22 minutes into this, and I still haven't seen you in the same room. And to finish off the first episode, we get a little insight into Stoffel's past as we're taken to Kortrijk. I'm going to give up. And while we're looking back at all this stuff, we look at his karting past, see him in some little news outlets at things, and we get to go to a kart track. He has an interview with some kids and things, and we get a little interview with his dad, who, can I just say, looks like a mad scientist, like Jesus. All in all, seems rather nice, and then the episode's over. We begin the episode immediately with Alonso's mental crash at Australia in 2016.
In the first race of 2016, Fernando had what could only be described, it was a monster crash.
When you see the car, you're just like...
It felt like slow motion. Everything happens in slow motion. I think in that moment, the body protects itself. Everything is ready for an impact.
I remember running from my office through to mission control. I just saw the car in this blizzard of debris. I thought I was going in to lock everything down. I thought I was at that moment where we got a really big one here.
The first hit on the left, it was 46 G impact. When the car was in the air, I saw the sky, and I saw the gravel, and then I saw the sky.
Honestly, you forget how absolutely crazy that crash really was. And they do have a point when they say how lucky Alonso is to have been able to immediately jump out of that completely wrecked car. It barely even resembles a car anymore, to be honest. It's awful. Safety's only gotten better in Formula 1, and it was getting better to that day. Obviously, he was able to get straight out of the car. Amazing. And then today, it's gone even better than that. Now we've got the halo, and we've had accidents such as Grosjean's in Bahrain, where I think at that time, they still don't have the halos in those scripts. It's crazy. You forget how recent it was when we had the halo introduction. But yeah, a crash like Grosjean's, he would not have survived in that day and age. So I'm glad we're seeing every year on year getting better with safety. But we move on to looking again at the 2017 car, which is behind schedule and already seemingly very low on parts. Not great when the season hasn't even started yet.
When the drivers are away training during the winter and we're building the car, they're kind of building themselves up and we're building the car up, and hopefully together, when they come together, they're a formidable package, if you like.
Of course, you love a formidable package, don't you saucy devil? Right, as we continue to see the car being put together, we see how insanely complex the car is altogether. How many little bits and pieces that they need to all work together in tandem, in complete harmony, for it to all kind of work well and for the car to do well, which is obviously easier said than done. And we also get to watch them heat-proof the fuel tank, which is awesome. I hadn't seen this before. And to do this, they line the chassis with genuine gold leaf. It's £1,700 per roll, and the roll is tiny, shown by the guy. Absolutely crazy. You can see why these teams need so much investment when they're putting gold around the fuel tank. Jeez. After this, we get a Stoffel Van Dorn training montage.
When you need to put yourself to the test and show us a passage of time, we're gonna need a montage.
Then they move back to looking at the car as Honda arrives to attach the engine itself, which doesn't exactly go to plan. As they're placing the engine on, we can't really see much. They've decided to blur the specific bits of the engine, which I guess other teams could steal if they saw it, but now we know that Honda engine was absolutely terrible, so it seems a little bit pointless when we're looking back on it. But I have heard that Ferrari were able to get their hands on the unedited footage, and that's what they actually based their 2020 engine off, so there we are. But as I said, it doesn't really go to plan with the whole engine fitting, and the engine and gearbox don't fit together at all. Pretty fundamental. And this then causes, of course, for the car to be pushed back even further, and the initially planned Silverstone shakedown is now cancelled for good. Once they do finally manage to rework the necessary pins and bearings needed to fit the two parts together, the fitting can then finally commence. But another setback ensues. They can't seem to crank the engine once it's all finished. They tried to crank it, but nothing happens. It's just sat there, click, click, clicking. So why wouldn't it crank, is what everyone's thinking. Maybe the Honda engine just wasn't a fan of Soldier Boy. The engine eventually cranks in episode 3 and everyone's happy, thank God. But everything is now late. It's all been pushed back and the project is falling further and further behind the original schedule. And then we move finally onto the car launch, the proper public one. The drivers have lots more jobs to fill, such as a photo shoot. Just look at how awkward Fernando and Stoffel look stood together. They barely even know each other, the poor chaps. And I don't think Fernando is really the type to kind of lead a young driver and be really personable. He kind of likes to keep himself and banter a bit and be that one step ahead. He wants to win, of course. And Van Dorn in this scene just does seem a little bit like deer in the headlights. He's trying to obviously hold himself and be very professional, but he just doesn't seem 100% sure of himself. And I know he doesn't want to step on anyone's toes, of course. Maybe just kind of breaking the tension a bit with some banter would have been nice, but it's understandable. And after this, the car is finally all put together to then be shown off at the unveiling. But I'm sorry, why are the marketing team placing the stickers on? I thought it'd be some trained professionals making it like inch perfect, but instead it's just Janice from IT who's on her bloody lunch break. She's just there like, oh shit, there's a bubble.
Obviously they'll ask about change. You know, Ron's not here anymore. So yes, we are changing. Change is necessary. Change is good.
And Alonso is changing.
But change is good and change is important. And we are changing. And by the way, that's why we've changed the livery. We've got an orange car with a bit of black. Why are you laughing today?
See how emotional you are, how happy you are with all those changes. I'm happy for you.
I'm happy you're happy for me.
They then finally show off the car to the public, and it's all exciting. Ooh.
We are in the entertainment business. I am not about controlling or gagging drivers at all.
You liar, Matt. I bet you loved gagging drivers, you saucy devil. We start off the final episode, finally testing at Catalonia, back when it was held in Spain. Nowadays, we seemingly like to hold it at a Darude concert. But back over to Spain, the McLaren finally fires up and heads out on track. And it comes back in 2 laps later with engine oil issues. That's not great. 7 hours later, they then finally go out again. And I can see what they were doing with the livery. Now it's kind of out on track, but in my opinion, it just doesn't really work. But then Alonso boxes because he says it's just too dangerous to even run the car. Not often that you hear a driver say that. And then the next day, Stoffel gets some time out in the car as well, but he then stops on track because of issues with the engine as well. Not really having a great time, are they, McLaren? Stoffel goes on to complain about horrible vibrations, but the team say that the data looks normal. They can't see anything wrong with the data, which is not very good, not a great sign. So at the end of testing, Mercedes finished with 2,681 laps, whilst McLaren only completed 425. An astonishing difference, and obviously playing out in the season, that would really come to matter. We then move on to the motorsport media dinner party. I guess it is. It's a little bit of a weird thing to include in the episode, but I mean, I'd quite like to be at a similar dinner one day. Maybe I'll get that kind of recognition when I hit like 100,000 subscribers or something. So there you go. There's a reason. Go down below, click that little red button, and get me at a dinner party in future. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that.
Good morning, everybody. After the disastrous testing that we've just been through, we're going to brace ourselves for what could be a very painful Australia. And it was a shock to us. It was a shock to all of us. And I want to apologise to you for that. And we set clearly competitive targets for what we believe was going to take to be competitive this year. And I'm very pleased to say that from a McLaren perspective, the engineering team largely hit all of the McLaren targets. So as far as I'm concerned, the McLaren team got the job done through the winter. A line has been crossed. we're done. We've done that experiment about just trusting what is going to happen. So we need to find a new way. We need to find a new plan. McLaren will not travel, hopefully, during the course of this season.
Well, this is depressing, isn't it? I told you this was just going to be very, very sad. After a heartfelt speech from Jonathan Neal, it's clear that McLaren put most, if not all of the blame onto Honda for the failures of the car. So you can see kind of how that relationship began to break down so fast, as they felt they'd kind of been cheated out of all the hard work that they'd put in for that car to make the team do so well. And as I say, the relationship then kind of broke down between McLaren and Honda, so McLaren switched to the Renault power unit for 2018, which is quite a nice screw you to Honda for all those engine troubles. But now, McLaren has switched to the Mercedes power unit for 2021, which was kind of a bit of a screw you to Renault as well. But unlucky Renault, you guys didn't even get a documentary, so suck on that. So, there we are. That is the end of this series. A little bit underwhelming, if I'm honest, and we all know that they're going to do absolutely terribly once they do end up getting out on track, but I would have liked to see a bit more in-depth stuff, and maybe a full season with McLaren could have been cool, but it just seemed like they had the right idea with what they were doing, but didn't quite do enough. Maybe they just didn't have the budget, they didn't have the time frame, I don't know what it is, but overall, an interesting series, but just didn't quite have that wow factor for me. And to be honest, the documentary was just kind of depressing at a lot of points. It was a deep look into a team where everything was kind of going wrong. So something you don't often see is teams allowing people in to have a look when it's not going well. So something interesting to have a look at and have a deep dive into, but equally can just be a bit sad in places. But from a kind of filmmaking perspective, it is pretty solid, to be fair. I did like some of the transitions and the shots that they had. The grounding kind of environment shots were done very well. However, I would say it would be quite difficult to mess up grounding shots at the McLaren Technology Centre, because it's absolutely stunning with that massive body of water out front, and all the cars that are inside are equally as beautiful, so yeah. And then in addition, the pacing is pretty decent as well, a bit slow in places. Could have had some stuff where they maybe needed to overlook it a little bit more than they did, but overall builds up the tension well and gives you a good look at the behind the scenes dealings and all the debates going on, as there were quite a few across this series. So I would say definitely worth a watch if you've got Amazon Prime already. I'm not sure it's worth you going out there and getting a subscription, but yeah, overall good. Don't be expecting it to be a Drive to Survive level of kind of insight, quality, or drama. The Drive to Survive is very, very much dramatized. GP Driver is not so much, but it's a very different series, a much more technical show that you still could very much enjoy. But that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy my kind of insights into GP Driver, then be sure to leave a like on the video down below. I do really appreciate that. And also make sure to subscribe to the Moto Meerkat channel as well, so you don't miss any of my future motorsport content. Now, I hope you really, really enjoy your watching of Drive to Survive Season 3. Be sure to let me know down in the comments what you thought of Drive to Survive Season 3, or of GP Driver if you've seen that as well. And how did you think they kind of compare the two series? What do you think? But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see all of you Meerkats later. Goodbye, guys.